Hey, Joe Martin here. You've seen our commercials over the years, and you may be wondering, what's in it for me? Well, ITI Technical College has been selected by Forbes magazine as a top 32-year college. But even more than that, the reason we do this is you. Our tagline is, for a better life, and we mean that, for you to be able to have the life you've always dreamed about, to do the things for your family you've always dreamed about. And it can begin here, where we are dedicated to your success, because here at ITI, the reason we do it is you.
This is Sports 225 with Lee Feinswag, and I'm Lee Feinswag. We're in our 24th year, if you count Sports Monday and Sports 225, and the only way that could happen is, well, it's my show.
My best friend, Lee Feinswag, with the Christmas.
Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. And now, me.
This is one of those nights on Sports 225 where, you know, I shouldn't get paid. I should pay the guests because it's so much fun to talk to T-Bob Hebert. And it is. I always just, you know, you're one of those guys who I enjoy visiting with, and you make me laugh.
You always start off so kind. I think I'm blushing.
Know
that the feeling is mutual, Lee. It's always fun. I
Bro
think you're a
fest
little
going
more,
on.
Yeah, you're a little more off kilter, which I enjoy as well.
Yeah, we've never done a radio side thing together.
No, that's because you are already married to a radio man on 104.5.
Oh, that's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, like, you know, guest exclusivity or something
You
like that.
and I just refuse to tarnish my show with Lady Moscona's dredges.
So every Tuesday at 4:15, I do 15 minutes with Matt Moscona. Okay, and Matt and his family are over in Houston this week because their son Drew has to have yet another surgery. We're rooting for Drew to do great. In his place, this past Tuesday was Charles Hannegriff and Gordy Rush. Okay, so every week, you know, I go on for these 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I fake my way through a few sports things. You know, in this case, it was hoops. And then I talk about beer.
Yeah.
The beer this week was called Expedition Stout from Bell's up in Michigan. It's just, if you're a stout person.
I am a stout person.
10.5% alcohol, but not overwhelming. Not like a lot of those barrel-aged stouts, you know, that'll just, you know.
Oh, I like the barrel-aged stouts. I think the highest I ever had was like a 13%.
I have one for us to share.
Okay.
That's another story, whatever. I've got it in the fridge. I won't let anybody else have it. You're just going to come by.
I'm into it.
Because you can only drink, this one is so strong. It's the Goose Island. And it's the Goose Island Bourbon Stout. And it's a 2015. So it is fermented, and it's just going to rock.
I'm in.
Anyhow, so Hannegriff and Gordy Rush are filling in for Moscona.
Yeah.
Now, Rush, of course, you know, is the god of all radio and your boss. They start the segment before they go to break, and then I'm coming up next, and Gordy gets up and leaves. He doesn't even stay in the room for the segment. Gordy, you're dead to me.
Oh man!
I mean, you know,
I can't defend Gordy's actions. He's in love with Moscona, so we're the off the bench is the rogue show of the bunch. We get in the most trouble with everybody.
Which at some point I ought to point out.
I should say this though, for real though, we are Team Drew. We love Matt Moscona, and we wish nothing but the best for Drew. But continue.
Oh no, so T-Bob does a radio show every morning with Jordy Culotta. It's called Off the Bench. It's from 7 to 9 on 104.5 ESPN. Are you guys on New Orleans too on that 100.3 thing?
Yeah, we're on New Orleans, and now we're on Alexandria as well, 94.7 ESPN. So slowly but surely trying to get out there.
I spent a month in Alexandria one weekend. Thank you, you know. No, the time. So when I was the Southern University beat writer in the late 80s, the SWAC baseball tournament was in Alexandria. So I had a hotel room, and it rained. And it rained. The weather was so bad, and the tournament went on for so long that there were a couple of nights where I actually left and came home and came back to Baton Rouge. I kept the hotel room.
No, and waited the rain
This was the first time
out.
I ever saw a helicopter come on a field to try to dry it. This is the first time I ever saw people take gasoline, you know, to the dirt in the infield and burn it. Have you ever seen them do that to dry a field?
No, I've never
This was
seen
like
that.
a 4-day tournament that lasted like 9 days. So my joke is, I went for a weekend and stayed a month, and whatever.
I'm not the biggest baseball guy.
Yeah.
That sounds like a seventh circle of hell type of situation for me. I would not want to be stuck at
the upside was
swag tournament for 9 days.
Way back then was Southern was really
Any
good.
Tournament for
yeah,
9
I mean
days.
Roger Cador was in his prime with his team. They were really good. There was a couple of future major leaguers, guys who got cups of coffee, and a lot of minor leaguers. And SWAC baseball was good. It was fun. On the other hand,
it's too much baseball. There's too much delay. Baseball's slow enough without multi-hour delays.
You would not be, of your generation, and especially being a gamer, baseball would definitely not be your thing. Although, have you ever gone to a Major League Baseball game? Like, have you ever gone, say, to a Red Sox game?
No. Okay, so I've never been.
I've
never been to kind of the premier, like day in and day out franchise. But I mean, I grew up going to some Braves games for sure.
That's true, of course.
And so we used to. We used to rock Braves. I loved the Braves growing up. Somewhere around junior high, I kind of fell out of baseball. As I've gotten older, though, I will say these last couple of years, I've started to enjoy it more and more. And then obviously I'm really excited for this baseball season because LSU, I mean, you're talking about a consensus top 2 team in the entire country going into the year. So huge expectations. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's just in my personal sport hierarchy, football, basketball, baseball.
Got it.
That's how it works.
And maybe even something else, to sneak in there.
I would throw soccer on the same level as baseball, even though I think a lack of a team to really cheer for, a lack of a rooting interest has kind of neutered my soccer interest a bit.
If we lived in a city where there was hockey, I would enjoy NHL.
I agree. I would agree with that.
You can mortgage your house to buy a bunch of tickets. That was my Christmas present to the whole gang. Went to see my kids for Christmas. Both my kids now live in Boston and got Bruins tickets for everybody. It was an easy Christmas present. I didn't have to wrap anything. I just swiped the credit card. And I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, this gentleman is T-Bob Hebert. He does radio from 7 to 9. He's a former LSU football player. His dad played a little NFL. We want to talk to maybe a little bit, not necessarily about your dad, but the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right, exactly. Which we hardly ever do on this show. I'm Lee Feinswag, and this is Sports 225.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the guy who enforces rules at Breck Parks. Check out my amazing presentation. Did you know? Motorized vehicles are not allowed in Breck Parks. Sales and solicitation are prohibited without permission from Breck. And my favorite rule, keep Breck Parks clean by placing all trash in trash cans. Come on, you can do this. For more information about these and other Breck rules, please visit breck.org/HDB.
We're back on Sports 225. I'm Lee Feinswag hanging out with T-Bob Hebert. And the other day I finally got to watch The Shape of Water. I don't want to jump into things too soon, but it came around. And I had a lot of people tell me it was too weird for them. I enjoyed it. And I saw why it was so highly regarded critically. And yeah, was it weird? Yeah, but was it really cool?
So it was interesting to me because there was a mixture of kind of weird and familiar, where the love story in Shape of Water is about as, it's a classic of a love story as you're going to find. Almost Romeo and Juliet in some ways.
Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, exactly, right? Like almost to a level where it's tropes, right? But then within that very classical setting, I think there's a lot of unique details that make it feel very fresh, make it so much fun. I love the movie. I see why I won Best Picture. But then again, I've always been a big Guillermo del Toro nerd. Pan's Labyrinth was probably the first movie of his that I fell in love with. I wish he would have gone to make the Hobbit movies, but he's a great filmmaker. So I was excited from this movie from the time I saw the first trailer, and I remember seeing it on Twitter, and I randomly just tweeted out the trailer like, oh man, I can't wait for this movie. And because of how social media works, their account hit me up, was like, hey, give me your address. And 2 weeks later, I had and this is before this first trailer, but I have a Shape of Water poster signed by Del Toro that they sent in the mail. And I'm a nerd. I love collecting stuff. I have a bunch of stuff that eventually when I get a man cave will all be on display. And so to get to add that piece, I already love this director, and now it actually won Best Picture and Best Director. And so I have that among my most prized bits of memorabilia. But the soundtrack from that movie too, I think it's Alexandre Desplat, French guy. unbelievable soundtrack. I still listen to it today. I listened to it Sunday, actually, the entire thing, while I was cooking on Sunday.
That's incredible. I mean, that's a great piece of memorabilia. One of my big regrets on movie memorabilia, and this is as random as it'll get, but it was a Final Four. Had to be, in the 2000 time. I don't even know what year.
Yeah.
But somebody came in from a movie company into the media room, and they were putting out a bunch of stuff for an upcoming movie called A Knight's Tale. And it was
really
it looked so stupid.
Like A Knight's Tale.
The stuff looked so stupid. There were hats, there were posters, there was stuff. I didn't take any of it. Fast forward to the movie coming out. It's one of my favorite movies ever. The idea of medieval times and rock and roll and the irreverence of that movie. I mean, it's such a one.
For the modern sports fan, it does. Okay, so one of my favorite analogies when I think about college football, and A Knight's Tale lives in this space, I always think about college football as a medieval tournament day, right?
Yeah.
You have these two groups of people that wear their like different colors. Everybody dresses a little crazy, so crazy colors, flags flying in the air, exotic smells floating throughout the air, like people singing songs that, you recognize sports songs you sing, but this other group, this foreign group, they sing these weird songs that you don't know about. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, you meet in the tilt. So like, I love that idea. So Knight's Tale, yes, Knight's Tale was perfectly crafted to my sensibility. Shout out, rest in peace, Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
movie.
Great actor and
fun movie.
Versatile too. God, you think of the roles that he played. I mean, the bad guy in Batman, and then
Joker. Brokeback Mountain was a great movie. Joker to me though. Well, actually, I love 10 Things I Hate About You Too. But Joker to me is the quintessential Heath Ledger role. And because of how people want to tie it in probably with his passing, that makes sense. But I still think The Dark Knight is hands down the best superhero movie that's ever been made.
Ooh, that's good.
There's been a lot of them now. But Dark Knight.
I rewatched the other night the Justice League. Where Superman, Superman comes back.
Absolutely.
And that was way better than I thought it was going to be.
It was better than it had any right to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a DC fan. Like, I like DC over Marvel.
When I was a kid, I was a big DC fan.
Okay, me too.
But because, I learned how to read. And I swear, reading DC comics was like an integral part of me learning how to read. Oh, yeah, Batman
amazing,
and Superman comics, Flash, Green Lantern.
I was a Green Lantern guy growing up.
Yeah, but, Stan Lee and what he did with Marvel, and then their movies are just fantastic.
So Stan Lee to me, and DC, but Stan Lee, I guess there's just so much that you can put him under him in the Ditko banner. But like, to me, they are your modern day mythologists, like the same guys that wrote stories about Zeus and all these other gods that lived throughout the ages. Like, that's what these superheroes are to me. They are truly modern day guys. And then, okay, if you want to go real deep into this analogy, so then...
All right, we got time.
Okay, so like temples back in the day, these Greek temples and everything, we think about them being just white, right? They're these beautiful white structures. That's not true. They used to be covered, they were painted full color. They used to be covered in bits of like armor and leather, and the pictures they formed told a story. People couldn't read, but the common man could walk by and see the reliefs and see the story that was being told. So to me, the parallels between these major superhero movies and these ancient temples is kind of fascinating when you think of them as giant, very expensive multimedia experiences that everybody can enjoy that tell a story. And it's about these fantastic characters doing fantastic things. So when I see one of these like multi-$100 million movies, I think back to like, I wonder if this is how maybe some ancient Greeks felt like walking by, the Parthenon or whatever for the first time.
That's
my very nerdy rant, but it's something that I've thought about a lot, dude.
The Parthenon being the multimedia, venue of its time.
I mean, it used to be full color, like I said, bits of leather and bronze,
right,
like for all the bits to really bring it to life, and it told, it tells a story. Now, what that story is to our modern interpretation is kind of up in the air. The Parthenon Enigma is a really good book. I'd recommend if you're into that, I guess.
Greece is one place that I have not been in Europe, and I've been lucky enough to go to most of Europe.
Yeah, you sound like you've been all over.
And that's sometime in the next few years for sure. All right, he's T-Bob Hebert. I had a question for him coming out of the last break. No, I never got to it because this is so fascinating. And it's all about me having a good conversation. I hope you're enjoying it, and if you're not, I'm Lee Feinswag at Sports 225.
Hi, I'm the human dislike button. You may recognize me as the rules guy for Breck Parks. Sometimes the rules slip past us, so I put together this amazing presentation. Did you know? Golf practice is only allowed at designated golf facilities. Firearms, explosives, and weapons are not allowed on Breck property. Metal detecting is allowed in some parks, but go to Breck's website to learn more about this and other park rules. For more information, visit breck.org/HDB.
He's like, I got somewhere to go probably. I know him. We're back on Sports 225, and T-Bob Hebert's here, and he has a perspective on things that most people wouldn't, and that is the whole Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints rivalry / commentary / you sports fans, I don't know what to do with you. But anyway, so I set it up first by saying T-Bob's family, a lot of it, especially on his father's side. Your mom's not from Louisiana, is she?
She is, yeah.
Oh,
but she's from Manny, Louisiana.
Oh.
So kind of I'm getting the same way that I am kind of part Saint, part Falcons in my DNA, I guess you could say. I am getting all flavors of Louisiana. My dad's from Cutoff, so we're, down
Right.
south Cajun country. And my mom's from Manny, Louisiana, which is like an hour west of Shreveport, basically kind of in Texas. So I am made up of all that Louisiana has to offer.
And weave through his fabric. Anyway, his father, Bobby, played football for the Saints and then ended up at the Atlanta Falcons. So you grew up in the Atlanta area as a Falcons fan.
I did.
Right.
But it's not just because I grew up in Atlanta. It was all my dad purposely raised me to be a Falcons fan. And as the father of the Houdat Nation, that may surprise a lot of people, but Jim Finks was the general manager of the Saints at the time, and my dad did not have a very good relationship with Jim Finks. Finks was a little more old school, didn't want to pay guys. So my dad ends up going to Atlanta, and he just felt like the Atlanta organization treated him better than the Saints did at the time. Now, that was a lot of salty feelings. Like spurned lovers, I think it was only a matter of time before he kind of found his way back to New Orleans. Like, he always wanted to move back, but I had a sister that was in high school, then another one, then I was in high school, and so we just constantly stayed. But once Buddy D passed and the radio opportunity came up, he was too happy to come back to New Orleans. And now you see him. I mean, the man bleeds black and gold through and through. And now even he actively roots against the Falcons.
That's where I was going with this, was the whole idea about how sports fans take this great pleasure in rooting against another team. It's one of those things that's always been lost on me, even when I was a sports fan, which was a long time ago. Now I'm a so-called objective observer of things, and I don't care who wins or loses as long as the games start early and they're good. I don't care who plays. Like, I'm still disappointed over the national championship football game because, when it was 16-14, I'm thinking to myself, we got a chance for a really good football game. And then, there you go.
I'm on the other side of it. I absolutely love reveling in your enemy's pain. So watching Alabama get curb stomped was, just thinking back on it now, it just tastes so sweet.
Now you, of course, being a former LSU football player who, had your battles with Alabama.
Yeah.
You know.
When you lose a national championship to someone in the manner that we did, it feels a bit like spending your entire life climbing up this mountain, and then right when you're about to summit, some guy kicks you down the mountain. But then that guy goes on to not just climb that mountain, but end up being like the greatest mountain climber of all time, and everybody loves him, and you just have to sit there while your greatest enemy is heralded throughout the street. So
How Sisyphus of you. Anyway, so this past week, the mayor of Atlanta, which is the host city for this year's Super Bowl, made a crack that, anybody can be at the Super Bowl, just anybody but the Saints. Doesn't want New Orleans there. And it was it was a funny, pointed comment.
It was funny. It was very funny. It's I think it's completely representative of how the average Falcons fan feel. They do not want
So it goes both ways.
Saints fans in there.
Yeah.
Like, hell no, they don't want the Saints fans in Atlanta. They don't want Saints winning a second Super Bowl before the Falcons have their first. And there's even some great subtlety and a little bit of humor from the mayor where she said, I just don't want the Saints. She said, well, there'll probably be a bounty on my head for saying this, but anybody but the Saints. So she even got a bounty gate joke in there. I thought it was excellently done by the mayor. This is what makes rivalries fun: the emotion, the passion, the skin in the game, the anger. And what I hate is that later she caught so much flack online that she actually had to come out and apologize, which bums me out, man, because I think that her comments are indicative of why this is so much fun.
Now, let me ask you this. If you work in the service industry in Atlanta, so you're going to count on people coming to town for the Super Bowl, which let's just say you're a waiter or a bartender, and you're going to count on tips. Do you think Saints fans are good tippers, or you think like maybe you're better off getting somebody who comes, 49ers fans, for example? I have no idea.
I would argue
because you've worked in the service industry a little bit, didn't you? Ever have you never had a restaurant job?
No, I had a construction job back in high school. That was it. No, I'm not cut out for. But I would imagine, knowing the people of Louisiana, that a lot of times we like to put our best foot forward when it comes to traveling. And look, it's like any other fan base. There's going to be crappy people who probably won't tip well. There will be normal people who will tip well. But like ultimately, if you're in Atlanta, you're already celebrating. When you're celebrating, you tend to kind of let a little more loose. I don't foresee a problem there. And that's when maybe, if you're talking about not tipping because someone's a Falcons fan, that's when we have crossed the line into complete irrationality. Like, it's all irrational, but that's when it's not fun irrational.
Well, to the credit, like, for example, if you're in an LSU-Alabama football game and say it's at LSU, you know that the LSU fans, while giving the Alabama fans all the crap in the world, will open their tailgates to them.
Yeah,
give them
you
a
hope
beer,
so.
Share their food. I've seen that, and that's typical. So that part's good. All right. We're 3 out of 4 segments done. We have yet to broach sports. T-Bob told me somewhere in the previous breaks that we ought to talk LSU basketball, and so we will. He's T-Bob Hebert. You can follow him at T-Bob53. You can follow me at Lee Feinswag. Why you would, as I've always said, is beyond me, but there's a link here and there. Anyhow, we got one more segment of Sports 225, and we'll be right back.
Well. Looks like someone forgot all neighborhood Breck Parks close at dark.
You want another?
I think they'll pass. Amplified music and sound is prohibited without permission from Breck. No alcoholic beverages on Breck property. Smoking of tobacco products is not allowed. Use of fire is prohibited except in grills. Gotta remember, Breck wants you to have fun, but in the right way. For more info, go to breck.org/HDB.
Coming down the home stretch of another Sports 225, thanks to John Williams. Back in the saddle, directing from Think JCW. If you go to sports225.com, you not only can find all of our showtimes on CST and on Your View, Cox 4, but also where we archive all the old shows. And T-Bob's been on a few times, so you can scroll through the Sports 225 YouTube channel and find some old T-Bobs. But this one's been good. I've had a ball. We've talked about everything.
We've run the gamut.
We've run the gamut. So the LSU basketball team has put itself in a situation to have a great season.
Yeah.
Wins that opening home SEC game against Alabama, almost blew a big lead, held on wins. Wins in overtime at Arkansas, and I don't care whether Arkansas is up or down. That's the tough place to play and a great place. By the way, if you ever want to have a fantastic basketball watching experience, Bud Walton Arena in Fayetteville, Arkansas is fantastic. Anyway, and then going from 4 to 3 undefeated SEC teams by beating Ole Miss on Tuesday night, in a situation to be really, really good.
It was an interesting game on Tuesday night because if you were an impartial observer and you just looked at a scoreboard, you would think that somebody at the ESPN graphics department had screwed up by putting the 18 in front of Ole Miss and not having a number by LSU. Just watching that game last night, LSU looked like a team that deserved to be in the top 25, and although Ole Miss is very good, they just didn't look like it. And so I think that speaks to the makeup of this LSU team. I think the first game I saw them this year was Memphis that I really locked into and watched. And what I was struck by was they can shoot. They're very long, very, very long, tall, and athletic. And they buy into the team concept. Yes, the kind of team goes as Tremont Waters goes, but the production around him is a little interchangeable. Kavell Bigby-Williams had 14-13. Then he goes to Arkansas, 0 rebounds, 0 points, 5 fouls. And then last night it has 14, 10, and 5. So it's the pieces around Tremont kind of change. But as long as he's steady, everybody's bought in that team concept. They hustle, they play hard, which is a testament of weight. It's hard to get these kind of alpha male athletes to do that. But the point being is that this is an LSU team who, there are other better basketball teams out there, but their potential is such that on their night, when they are locked in, they are capable of beating any team in the entire country. I truly do truly do believe that. And they have played some very good basketball here early on, and they look like they're learning and just getting better and better.
A lot of good athletic parts that give Coach Woolwade a lot of options. Where last year, their fate was strictly dictated by matchups.
Yes.
If they played a team they could match up well against, if they played a team they didn't match up well against, it was that simple.
Well, look at the Alabama game. They didn't match up well with the bigs, and Alabama dominated them twice last year. This year they do, and they win that game. You mentioned almost blowing leads, and that's interesting to highlight because at the beginning of the year,
by the way.
Oh, well, they've gotten better at that after each game. I'm a radio guy.
The very entertaining and interesting T-Bob Hebert can be followed at T-Bob53 on Twitter. You can listen to him and Jordy Collada every morning from 7 to 9 on 104.5 ESPN and in New Orleans and Alexandria. You are awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Lee. Always a pleasure, man. Thank you all for having me.
Thanks for watching. This has been Sports Tuesday. That was great. I love that.
At carnival time by Baton Rouge Bay, that's the site of my story. At Spanish Town Mardi Gras, things can get blurry.